Hi everyone, this is Ilina Crouse and welcome to another card making video. Today I'm using the new January 2022 My Monthly Hero kit to create interactive card. We're gonna create a swing that goes left and right. So let's get started. First, let's introduce you to the new My Monthly Hero kit. This kit is called Key to My Heart, and you can see there is 6x8 stamp set. There are 4 cubes. I don't have the cubes, but I have the full ink pad. So we have 3 reactive inks, Taffy, Key Lime Fizz, and Green Apple, and also Kappa Joe Shadow ink. There are also coordinating dies for the stamp set. This is a color layering stamp set we have for the big branch, the swing, the little foliage that goes around the swing, and also there is a cover plate and a key that's a standalone die. So here's a sample that I had on my blog yesterday. So before we start making the card, I wanted to show you the add-ons for this month. So that was the Locks Fancy Dice. This is the Lifestyle Cherub. I have a sample with the Lifestyle Cherub on my blog today as well. I have a link below in the description of this video. That was the Chain Fancy Die. We have Hearts and Blossom cover plate. So now let's move to the stamp sets. All the stamp sets except the Valentine's messages have coordinating dies. So this is Key to My Heart. The stamp set is 4x6 stamp set. I apologize here, that's my arm trying to get the stamp set. I really love this one. It's called Flower Girls. And also there is coordinating die set. Next we have the Peonies Bunch. So it has coordinating dies, and also we have color layering stencils. So for easy coloring. Either you can color it using your favorite medium, or you can use the stencil to quickly color the peonies. We have the Valentine's mini messages. Now that's the candy, the chocolate candy, and the chain linked fence bold prints. So those are all the add-ons for this month. So let's get started. For making my previous card, the one that you see on the left, I had already positioned all the layers in my MISTI. So what I need to do, I left them there so I can stamp more of those images. So I'm stamping first the first layer, the solid layer for the branch, and I'm using the Key Lime Fizz Reactive ink. So you will also see me stamp in different colors. I'll save those for future cards. I won't be making cards with those today, but you will see them probably tomorrow on my blog. Just making sure that I have nice coverage, and next I'll go with Taffy and Pool Party to create more colorful branches. Again, as I said, I won't be using the Taffy and the Pool Party for today's card. Next I'm going with Pool Party. And I had a little bit left from that Taffy. You will see it's not really Pool Party. It's a little bit darker, more going a little bit. It has purplish hue. So I'm cleaning that stamp again, and I'll stamp again to get that nice Pool Party color. That just gave me an excuse to make more of those branches. I really like this color layering stamp set from this month. You can use it for many different occasions. Okay, now we're going to move to the second layer. For the second layer, I'm not using actually the second layer for the branch, but I'm using for the foliage, but I'm using the branch, the first layer for the branch. And I'm stamping that with Kappa Joe. So next, the third layer, I'm using the second layer for the foliage, and I'm using Green Apple. And for the other layers, I will be using the one that we stamped in Taffy. I'll use Berry Smoothie. And then for the Pool Party, I will use Blue Raspberry and Blue Hawaii. Okay, so I'm going here with blue raspberry, and then the next one I'll use blue Hawaii and then berry smoothie. So after we're done with this, we're going to move to the last layer, and that will be the second layer for the branch. And I'll use again the Cup of Joe, but after I stamp with Cup of Joe, I will stamp in layer of Licorice Reactive ink. But just applying a little bit of that and removing it, or just using a sponge dabber to apply that ink directly on the stamp, or applying it directly on the stamp and then removing some of it using the sponge dabber. You can see here I'm applying it with the sponge dabber, then I'm applying directly to the stamp and removing some with the dabber. So this creates more contrast and a darker brown color compared to the Cup of Joe. And I'm repeating the same process for all of them. Okay, now I have all of them stamped, and I'm using the coordinating die to die cut two of the branches. I'll be using the green ones, and I'll save the rest for the colorful one for later use. Okay, we have one, and I'm repeating the same process with the second one. I'm securing it with some repositionable tape. Here I'm using highlighter tape. Okay, next I will stack those two. And now I pulled one of the gel print backgrounds that I made in last month's my monthly hero kit. So if you saw there, I made a bunch of those backgrounds. So I just pulled one of those to use, and I decided to go with the purple and yellow one. So I stamped the swing using the same technique with the Licorice and Cup of Joe, and I'm using the coordinating die to die cut that. So this swing will be that interactive element on our card that will be swinging left and right. Okay, now it's time to make that interactive part that will allow the swing to go left and right. So I have the infinity oval dice, and I cut one of the smaller ovals to fit that width of the swing, and that was the second to the largest, I believe the second or the third. I had three there, so I went with the smallest one. And I just froze the frame, so you can see here I die cut a little circle using the infinity tag dice, and I measured, I was trying to find for a small circle where I will fit one of my circle foam dots, foam circles that I will use to adhere that swing. So you can see there's the oval, and I'm cutting it in half, so because we need a shorter piece, so I also need that widest piece there to adhere the swing. So there is that interactive element. Now I will die cut another piece from the swing, another die cut. I'll stack those two to create a little bit more sturdy swing. Okay, next what I'll do is I'll adhere the ends to that interactive element, to that half oval, and I'll let that dry. Okay, now let's create our background. So I'm cutting a piece of white cardstock, that white cardstock down to 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm positioning the branches how I want them to go, and I will temporarily adhere them with my repositionable tape. Okay, next I have that background, and I will cut it to 4 inches width, and then I left it to the height. That was because we're gonna I cut 1 3/4 from the top, so we can use to overlap those. So we're gonna create a little bit dimension on the top. It will be a little bit higher, so that swing will kind of hang nicely. It won't be flush with the panel, but it will be a little bit elevated because we have that separate piece there, and I'm adding another backer piece there to add a little bit more dimension. This allows that swing to move left and right more freely. Okay, so next I'm measuring to see where I want that to be positioned. And before we position everything, um, we'll need to stamp the sentiment after we add all the dimensions with the foam squares. It will be harder to put it in the MISTI, and I didn't want to risk to hand stamp this with acrylic block. So I decided to use the You Make Me Smile sentiment, and I stamped it with Intens-ified black ink. Okay, next it's time to start assembling this card. So I have those circle foam dots, and I'm stacking two. Okay, so we're not going to adhere the swing at all. Just that circle, after we put it, will get adhered to the branches. So next I am making marks where it's that line on the top. So above that line I will put foam squares, and I won't put any on under that line so it doesn't interfere with the swing. Again, I'm stacking those two thick. You can go, if you have thinner, you can also do thinner, like too thick. This adds quite a bit of dimension, but with thinner foam squares or dots will work as well. Okay, so I think that is done. Before we adhere everything together, I decided to add some butterflies, and I'm stamping those with Bare Smoothie Reactive ink. I'll stamp 3 sets of butterflies. Just positioning everything to see where I want those to go. Okay, so it's time to adhere everything together. Now I'm just adding some adhesive in the back. I'm adding that swing, removing the backing of that foam circle, positioning those and adhering everything together, and you can see that swing is moving freely. So we want to limit how far left and right goes. So we'll add more form squares on the back. Before I add that, I decided to add some of the gems that come in the kit on the branches to represent flowers or even some fruit. So I'm using the precision glue to adhere those in place. Okay, so you can see how that swing went far to the left. So I'm stacking smaller foam squares, too tall like we did for the back, and I'm adding those on the edges to make sure that that swing doesn't go very far left or right. Okay, you can see how it's limited to the panel and it doesn't go more further left or right. Okay, our card is almost done. We just need to add it to a note card. I wanted to add a little bit more dimension and sturdiness. So I'm stacking here 3 pieces of the white cardstock instead of craft foam because I ran out. Just trimming the edges, and I will add that on the back of my panel and adhere that panel to my top folding the white note card. Okay, that finishes our card for today. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this video. Okay, let's see one more time how this moves before we end the video. I was a little too quick to say my goodbyes. Okay, Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope that you're inspired to try this technique. You can see that I didn't use any special dyes and it was very easy to create. Thank you so much for stopping by and see you soon. Bye!